What's up, Warriors? Welcome back to another episode of the Suburban Warrior podcast. I'm your host, Crissy Pyfer, back this week with an amazing Suburban Warrior here to share her story and experience with you. And I think today's episode is really going to be super impactful. We are going to be talking about what it's like to get a diagnosis in midlife amongst all of the other things that are happening around you and how that impacts you, how to move forward, and how it can empower you. So let me introduce to you my guest today, Farla Efros. Farla spent 3 decades as a retail turnaround specialist, restructuring companies in crisis and commanding boardrooms. As interim CEO and chief restructuring officer, she built a career on walking into chaos and creating winning strategies, skills she never imagined she'd use to save her own life. When Farla was diagnosed with stage 2B triple positive aggressive breast cancer, she did what she does best, and she got to work. She treated her diagnosis like a consulting project, built a protocol, assembled a team, and fought like hell. Through chemotherapy, a double mastectomy, a bilateral salpingo oophorectomy, and the devastating loss of both her parents to illness within months of each other, Farla documented her journey with raw honesty, snarky humor, and strategic precision. Welcome to the podcast, Farla.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here.
Well, thank you for being here because obviously you have this very impactful experience and story to share. And I want to jump right in because I know we have so much to talk about and I really, truly want to hear about your experience. So first, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and sort of what brought you to that moment of the diagnosis.
So I have been a retail turnaround specialist. I was the interim CEO of True Religion. I had actually just sold my company with my business partner to Accenture. And we had this 3-year term at a minimum that we had to stay. And so we were turning around companies. I spent my life on an airplane. I always joked that anyone coming to my funeral would be, the parking attendant at this airport and the the concierge at this airport, until that faithful day that I got a phone call.
And what was that like for you? Tell us how that impacted you.
Ironically, I was sitting in a hotel room in Spain. We had just visited my daughter, and I looked at the corner of my phone. I was on a conference call with a client that I laugh about because I never got back to that client. And it was my high-risk doctor on the other side of the line, and quickly told me that my biopsy had come back and I had cancer. And I was completely in denial because my mammogram was clear. So I had always been a part of high risk. And I'd gone for MRIs and mammograms every 6 months to a year. So it was pretty standard protocol for me. But when she came back, all that reverberated in my brain was my mammogram was clear.
Yeah.
And
right. So how could this be?
How could this be? And she's like, well, it's only about 70% accurate. And obviously bells go off in my brain going, well, where do they ever talk about that stat? Because they never do.
Right, meaning mammograms are only 70%
mammograms.
Accurate. Yeah,
and not to say that they're not good, but again, they're not as accurate depending on the type of breasts you have and so forth. And I just completely went into stealth mode.
Yeah,
I was shocked and.
Yeah, I just want to back up for a second. So explain a little bit. So you were seeing a high-risk doctor because you have a high risk of having cancer or specifically breast cancer in your family? Is that what was happening?
Yes.
Okay.
My mom had cancer. Her mother had cancer. All the aunts. Okay. So it was very, very active in my family. And also at the time, my sister also had cancer. And she had recently passed away. So it was very active in my family, but I had been gene tested for every gene that you can think of. And I was negative always.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's a very important point to make.
Yeah, so I was completely negative. So yes, I was high risk. I was negative on every single gene, but I still went through the protocols and the testing because that's what you should do, just to, to be safe.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
Thinking, I don't think I'm ever going to get it, really, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there was a part in the back of my mind that probably thought I was, but I ate healthy. I worked out. I did all the things that you're supposed to do, and when they called me that fateful day, it was like my body failed me.
Yeah, yeah. You feel so just, I don't know. I guess like in a dream, like you can't even imagine that it's happening to you.
Correct.
Especially like you said, if you had all the gene testing, you're going through all the procedures that you should be going to, you're seeing the high risk doctor, your mammogram is clear. I can imagine how shocking that was for you.
Complete shock. Complete and utter shock. And I sat there in just you're in a daze, right?
Yeah.
And for the first
time
time
especially
ever,
if your sister had just passed away from breast cancer.
Exactly. And so she had just passed away from esophageal and breast cancer. And she was my older sister. And that was the other thing that actually in my part of my head was the fact that my sister had been 10 years older than me than when she got cancer. My mom's first cancer was 10 years older than me. So I was 51.
Yeah.
So I'm like, there's something wrong here. And you just go into this state of loss of control and complete denial. I mean, that's really what happens.
Yeah. So after that first initial phase of complete denial, then what? Then what did you do?
I decided that, by the way, I'm still in denial.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a great way to be because, to move on, act as if it's not take care of what you need to take care of. But from a mindset standpoint, I think it's probably very important to be in denial and not take it on as owning it, right? Yeah. Like not ever saying that this is what this is me or this is what I have. I would think that like just dealing with it as something that you're getting over. And it's something it's like a blip on the screen in your life and you're going to move on from it, but never truly owning it as part of being within you. I would think from a mindset standpoint, that's really important in dealing with it.
I didn't want anyone to know, right? And I didn't want people to call me out on the street and so forth. So the first thing I did as I got the diagnosis, I was away. And I ordered myself the most beautiful Amazon binder that I could find with pretty flowers on it. And I decided that I was going to use and lean into everything that I had done in my career. But the project's name was going to be me, and I was going to turn myself around. And I really lent into saying that I was going to be the CEO of my own health. And that became my full-time job.
Yeah.
Where I had to advocate for myself.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell us a little bit more about that. Like, how did you go from fixing broken companies to now, really going and working on fixing you and being the CEO of your own health?
So it started with the binder and the beautiful dividers. I always have to mention they were very beautiful dividers, and it was very old school. And I started to gather data. I started to gather all the health data within my family. I started to gather all the data within the portal about my type of cancer. And I started to do all kinds of research around my type of cancer and what the standard protocols were and what the, what the results looked like. And so I sit there with my first meeting with my oncologist. And I have to say this, my husband completely laughed because I dressed up in a business suit. And all was good until
that probably made you feel really powerful and
that's
empowered,
what I needed to do. Exactly. At the time,
I love that. I think that's a really important point to mention, actually.
At the time, I had very, very long blonde hair.
Okay.
And I had my hairdresser came in, did my hair, my makeup was done, I was ready to go. Everything was great until, Crissy, they made me go on the scale and I had to take my shoes off. and I couldn't get them off.
Oh, no.
But beyond that, it was all great. And I walked in with my bag and my big binder, and I opened it up in the meeting, and I had very clear objectives, a vision, and a list of 45 to 46 questions that I had. So This was a business meeting because I was going to actually build my intel based on, everything that they had to say. And I handed out, and I don't know, but it might have been one of the first time ever that there I was handing out an agenda, and I was actually leading the meeting.
Yeah. And what was the reaction from I'm assuming it's an oncologist, from your oncologist at that point when you are handing out an agenda for how you want this meeting or appointment to go?
Shock.
Yeah.
A bit of a giggle. But I would tell you that over time, everybody that I dealt with on my executive board team, because that's what I called them, all the doctors, they really started to appreciate it. Because I also went into these appointments, I had no emotion, nothing.
Yeah.
So I went in very, very much fact-based to say, here's the things that I want to solve for, and here's the things that I'm going to push on and lean on. Because I wanted to get what I call precision medicine. And I wanted it to be specific to me, right? To my DNA, to things that I wanted to make choices, right? Because it is very much so, oh, you have breast cancer, here's what we're going to do for you. It's a very standardized protocol, and I often refer to it as a McDonald's menu. And I refer to it to that because I worked there. It was my first job ever.
I love it. You and many other people.
Yeah, and I still have the uniform. I stole it. So, and that's what it was. It was, here you are, menu number 1 and menu number 2, depending on what you have. And I went in with, no, I'm going to question everything, and I'm going to customize the menu because I want it to be specific to my cancer and my body and my DNA. And also, as part of I call it my executive board team, I also had a naturopath working on my team. Because wonderful. It was really important for me to understand, what was being put on and what can I question. And I of course put everything through, the oncologist pharmacist, but I still wanted to have a well-rounded team because to me that was so important. And I also started off, I talked about my vision. Well, my vision was really simple. It was, I don't want to die. And in order for me not to die, I am going to do the most aggressive treatment and protocols that exist today, right? Yeah. I was young. I was fit. I ate well. So I felt like there's a part of me that felt like my body was always working to the fact that this was going to happen, if that makes sense. I was preparing for this. So to me, it was bring it on.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I say that. And when she said to me, the first second when she said to me, you need to do chemo, I said no. Because I didn't want to lose my absolutely beautiful, stunning hair that's still growing back. And she said to me, do you want to die? And I said no. And so there we were doing chemo.
Yeah.
But it was those kind of conversations that we were having that were very strategic conversations that I think that they felt that I educated myself enough and that so that they couldn't just pass me on as here's the protocol and we're going to move on to the next person.
Yeah. And I think that this conversation is so powerful because it really spans across any health issue, right? 100%. I mean, on this, obviously today we're talking specifically about breast cancer and cancer, but, women in midlife are experiencing so many different health complications and health issues. and they're looking to their doctors for diagnoses. They're going to their physicians to say, what is wrong with me? And they are getting, passed on and passed over and gaslit. And I think it's just important for us as women in midlife to understand that we hold the power, and we can walk into these doctors' offices with agendas, with visions, with outcomes and goals that we want to get out of this one appointment. And if we're not getting what we want in that, like you said, it's a conversation. It should never be a one-way thing, right? It shouldn't be just one way us or one way from the physician, but it's a conversation. And if we're not getting what we want out of that conversation, we have every right to move on to someone else who will be a part of that conversation, and to build our team or our executive board. And whatever career you're in, whatever language works for you, I think that's a really important point too. Like, you have to find that, right? You have to find whether it's your team, your executive board, your physicians, whatever you want to call it, but it has to resonate with you so that you feel very empowered to be the leader or the president or the quarterback or however you want to word it, of this team that you're putting in place to take care of you and your body. So, I just think everything that you're saying just translates so well into every health issue in midlife, that we are starting to feel empowered to take that, to be our own advocates, to take charge of that, and to be the CEO of our health. Well, it's really important.
And if I can just kind of echo on top of that, it's so interesting. So when you are my age, 51, one day I'm all good. The next day I am forced into menopause, which I have to tell you that nobody warns
prepares you for that.
Yeah. Like, I have
Trust
to say,
me, I know.
I joke with my girlfriends all the time, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, we turn 50 and everything falls down.
Yeah.
Right? And it starts
and apart.
Yeah. And nothing works, including our brains. Right?
Yes.
And all of a sudden, I was forced into menopause, and my body is going absolutely insane. I could not be sitting at a table without having a hot flash every 5 minutes. I'm waking up thinking I might have wet my bed. And I mean, it's just unbelievable. And obviously, given the type of cancer that I have, HRT really wasn't an option for me. And I also chose that I didn't want it to be an option for me, because there's a lot of discussions, and I just felt it wasn't the right thing for me given the type of cancer I had.
Sure.
But I went on I researched and researched, and I found a drug. And it was, it had just been FDA approved in the US. It hadn't been FDA approved in Canada yet. And I was on top of it. And the minute it came over the border, I was on it. And
great. What was it?
It's called Veoza.
Oh yeah, very familiar with Veoza.
It's
for, just so people know, it's a non-hormonal solution for hot flashes
and night sweats.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, for me, it's been a game changer.
Yeah,
like a complete
I'm sure.
game changer. And so those are the things where I even went to other doctors who are like, oh, I've never actually heard of that drug before.
See?
Right.
Isn't that crazy?
So there we are doing research, right, on our own. I just went to my oncologist. I was just there this last Friday, and I'm trying to get on a new drug because I'm on a drug called letrozole, which it's half killing me, and from aches and pains and all that stuff. I call it the triple ven of chronic fatigue, chronic brain fog, and chronic pain. And there's a new drug that I'm waiting for it to get FDA approved, and every single meeting starts, is it in Canada yet? Oh, has it been approved in the US? How can I get access to it? And so these are the things that you constantly have to be on top of. Even I said to them, I'm like, I'm having a lot of neck pains and back pains, right? They're like, okay, well, it's not typical, but we'll put you in for a bone scan, right? And I know it's not typical, but if I feel better doing it,
right,
then we should be doing it. If I want to go for a ultrasound on my breasts, even though they're gone and there's just a bit of tissue left over, well, I want to do it. So I'm going to work the system so that it works for me.
Yeah,
and that's
I love that.
So important. And that's what I'm trying to teach people. And if you can't be your own advocate, I had the fortune of being my own advocate, but some people can't. Then you lean into people that can help you. Yeah. And that's part of setting up your executive board team, right?
Yeah.
It could be friends, it could be your husband, it could be your kids right? It doesn't matter. It's somebody that can actually have a voice, and it's somebody that's going to look out for you and you only. And that is the most important thing in this world, because I'm not blaming the doctors. I'm really not, right? I'm actually very grateful for the doctors and what they do.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they're inundated. Right. They don't have time to breathe, right? Yeah. They need people like me.
They truly don't.
Yeah, they need people like me. They need consultants like me, right? Yeah. That's why companies hire consultants, right? To do the work that they can't get to. It's not that they can't do it. They just don't have the time. And they need consultants like me to be able to bring them the data and the information so that they can actually utilize it. They just don't have the time. Yeah. Right? And that's the issue that we're dealing with all over the world.
All over the world. Exactly. Yes.
And so it's not unique to Canada, it's not unique to the US, between funding issues and obviously constantly cutting costs and stripping the doctors of the things that they need, then they just don't have the time to step back and kind of, I like to say, smell the roses, but it's really read the research.
Yeah. Yeah. And why do you think it is so difficult for patients to truly feel empowered enough to challenge that standard of care?
Fear.
Why do you think not fear?
It's 100%
fear of
upsetting somebody.
Being the nice patient.
Fear, and frankly, I was always the nice patient. I talk a lot about that in my book. I was always so, and every time I read if I opened up the portal today, it would say, Farla is a really nice 51-year-old woman. I have these moments where I want them to say, Farla's this crazy person that comes in here screaming. But they don't. That's what my husband would say. But
right. Exactly.
But
so true.
I think it's fear. I think they feel like they don't have the ability to, and they are also, I think what happens is you're so overwhelmed, right? When you're going through chemo, I refer to it as it's the hamster wheel, right? You're going from blood test to appointment, and it's this hamster wheel, and you don't have time to think. And you're overwhelmed with, you have cancer and you don't know what to do and who to lean on. And so I just think nobody wants to upset anybody. They don't want to get kicked out of the program, whatever it might be. I think it's fear. I feel that it's just they don't feel like they have enough information. Some people they say the doctors are the experts, and so forth. And my answer is, I'm not suggesting they're not the experts. But I'm suggesting that it is our job as CEO of our health to question, and we have the right to question in a non-confrontational way.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
I asked for a test. It's a very simple test. They don't do it in Canada. It's called a Ki-67. And that tells you if your body is going to react well to chemo. So tell me, why wouldn't everybody ask for that test?
Right. And let me ask you this. So there's this test. It's the Ki-67. You explained it tells you how well your body's going to react to chemo. How did you even find out about that test if it's something that's not available in Canada or available, where you're being treated?
My naturopath.
Yeah. Okay.
My
So
oncologist,
your naturopath who you went and had to seek them out to work with
Yep.
someone else besides just the oncologist. You found the naturopath. The naturopath is giving you other suggestions, again, to work in conjunction, with traditional medicine and with your oncologist. Tells you about this Ki-67 test. You bring it to the oncologist. They can't help you because it's not offered, right, in traditional medicine. So what happens then? Are you able to get the test?
Yeah. Yeah. So
And
the
how-
answer
how
is
did
they actually can offer it. It's a blood test. It's
Oh.
a nothing blood test.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Then why don't they? And why don't they do it for everyone? Because of cost.
Because they have this, it goes back to protocol, could be cost, goes back to protocol, right?
Yeah.
So what
It's
happens
not in
if
the protocol.
Yeah. What happens if my Ki-67 test came back and it said that it wouldn't react well to chemo? Let me
Yeah,
tell you
they
about
don't
the
want
one
that.
other thing I pushed for. I had to do 6 chemos. After chemo 3, I said, I want to do a scan. Oh, but that's not standard protocol. And I said,
Yeah.
well, if it's not working, I'm stopping.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That was my answer. And
Yeah.
so again, they said, fine, we'll do it. And I said, and my answer is, if I can't, I'll find someone that'll do it, or possibly I'll pay out of pocket, whatever it might be. And I did it. And guess what? I found out that it was working. My tumor
Yeah.
went down by 50%. Well, let me tell you what that did to my psyche.
Yeah. Oh, I can
Right?
imagine.
Okay, I was like jumping up for joy because the
Yeah.
truth is, it allowed me to build that strength to continue,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
absolutely.
sometimes we need, in life, sometimes we need these little wins
Yeah.
to encourage us to go on. And why wouldn't you want to do that? Yes, I know it costs more money. I understand all of those things. But
Yeah.
these are the things that make patients feel like it's working. Because if
Yeah.
not, I wouldn't have known until they would have
Absolutely.
gone to do the surgery.
Yeah. And it allows you not only to, go into those, the rest of the chemotherapy treatments feeling, empowered, but it really does completely shift your whole mindset because just the belief that it is working, really just helps to not only just switch your mindset, but truly, what you believe in is what you see, right? We know that, right? We form new neural pathways every single day.
Yes.
Our thoughts change our situation. So you going into those treatments knowing that they're working, knowing that that tumor is shrinking, you can literally visualize the tumor shrinking as you're sitting there, visualizing it, believing it. I mean, that's healing. That's part of the healing journey, not just the chemotherapy, but how you think about that chemotherapy is what heals you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it allowed me to continue on because, that's why I call it the hamster wheel. Just as you're starting to turn the corner and feel a bit better, you're back in it again. Right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that was one piece of it. The other piece that I advocated really strong for was exercise.
Yeah.
I never stopped. And they would say, you should slow down, you shouldn't do it. And I went, I know my body. And my body was used to exercise before. And again, for that 1 hour, Crissy, I felt like I was me again. Whether I was on the tennis court, whether I was boxing, whether I was lifting weights, I just felt like me. And that's what you're always clamoring for, is yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's, exercise, is truly one of the 4. In working with my clients, I have a whole program called my core program, and the E is for exercise and movement. And because if we are not moving our bodies and exercising in a way that feels joyful and good for us, so that means at every phase of life, it can change. It can evolve. It doesn't have to always be the same thing. It doesn't always have to be lifting weights and doing a HIIT class. It can be a tennis. It could be yoga. It could be, whatever it means for you, walking. But it truly, that exercise is such a pillar of our lives, and to maintain healthy lives. And again, I have a friend who, recently went through breast cancer treatment as well. I could not even believe, like, she was going through chemotherapy and she was still getting up and like working out for like 20 minutes every single day. And because that's what she needed to do. I think she maybe skipped the day after her chemo, maybe sometimes, like even then she didn't, but like every morning, even, through the 6 months that she was going through chemo, every day got up and worked out for 20 to 30 minutes, because that's what made her feel good.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. And it was the same thing with the food I put in my mouth, right? I thought I always ate healthy. I actually always thought I did. But right. I'm not going to even call it a diet. It's a way of life today that I have. Mm-hmm. I run through, I call it the AIP, the autoimmune protocol. So it's all about reducing inflammation, and the amount of antioxidants that I drink in a day will put anybody over. But I'm just, to me, that's what I want to do for me. Right. Because that's what makes me feel good. And if I can reduce the pain and, by reducing some of the inflammation in my body without the medication, because I'm on so much medication that I am, I'm going to follow those protocols, and they make sense for me.
Yeah. Right. And you're on so much medication, but you've also learned through this process how food is medicine as well, right? And so there are so many foods that we can eat that heal our bodies, that help our cells work more efficiently, that give us our food energy, that balance our blood sugars, that are antioxidants, that are anti-cancer. Yes. And so there's truly so much we can do by what we put in our mouth, which again, the O in my program is optimal nutrition. So I'm talking to people about this all the time because I thought I ate healthy too. In my 30s, if I was eating a salad for lunch, I thought I was eating healthy. It is like night and day. Now I'm 51. And it is, I eat night and day to how I have in the last 10 years prior to that, because I've just learned so much about what I put in my mouth and how much it fuels me at the cellular level, whether it's decreasing inflammation, it's antioxidants, it is medicine. We truly are what we eat. And I don't think there's any other time that you realize that more than when something happens, like what happened to you when you get that diagnosis and all of a sudden your life instantly shifts. So I want to talk a little bit about the Healing Rebel protocol that you have, and how that can help patients and use it to manage their own health and work with their care teams. So tell us about the Healing Rebel protocol.
So what I put together, it's a framework, of course, because that's what consultants do. We always put
that's what we
together.
Do. Yeah.
That's what we
Love
do.
It. I like a good framework.
I know, of course you do.
I do.
You'll find that I like to make fun of myself. So the first thing is, it's about, the step one about it is really this notion of radical ownership. It's really taking back control and refusing to be passive, right?
Yeah,
and
I love that.
You have to own and be the CEO of your healthcare, and you're allowed to. The next step of it is information is power. So how do you build that rapport with the doctors? It's not on the emotional level. That comes later, right? Because I can tell you how many children each one of my doctors have and their names and so forth. But it's really about, how do you build that complete medical dossier so that you know your numbers, you know your scans, because all that information today, 20 years ago, that wasn't available. So all the information today, it's available. You know your pathology. So it allows you to really ask better questions, right? So you don't have to ask. You already know some of the things. And then I put together this decision framework. So there's no guesswork at all, right? So that you're not in a place where it's structured decision making, so that you're not making decisions out of stress. And then you can actually evaluate your options. So as an example, right, depending on whatever, if it's breast cancer, do you want to do a double mastectomy or not, or a lumpectomy? So it's really having those frameworks in place so that you really eliminate the emotional noise. And that's really key in all of this. You can have the emotional noise. I had so much of it in my shower. That was my happy place.
Yeah.
Because nobody heard me crying there, and there was tons of tears.
Yeah.
The next step is the agency in every room. And so that's, you don't defer the authority without understanding, right? It's so important that you challenge, you clarify, and you confirm, right? You walk into the appointment as a partner, not a passenger.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So good.
Critical, right?
Yeah.
And then, there's this emotional truth, right? And for every appointment and everything, this is how you build the rapport and the respect with the doctors, is that you don't bypass your feelings, you integrate them.
Yeah.
Right. So I have a ton of humor. The things that I make fun of in my appointments about even myself, right? And you're being honest and you're direct. And I think that kind of, you break yourself down, and so that people see a different side of you and that you stay grounded. It's so important to stay grounded. And I get it. I like to say it's an out-of-body experience, is that, it's you, but you have to still remove yourself from it, because you have to understand you're trying to achieve the end goal. Number 6 is all about community as a mentor, as medicine. I will tell you that I had the best community around me. I called them my village. I wasn't alone. Healing is not solidarity. And I built a circle of support around me, and they all leaned in and they helped me, right? They made me laugh. They made me cry. They drove me somewhere. They brought me food, but they were all in my corner. And there's some that are going to lean out, because that always happens, right? You lose some friends when you go through this. But I really had this unbelievable community, and it was my North Star, to be very honest, right? Because I've never been so lucky. And the next thing is really about legacy through action. And what I mean by that is, you create the structure, you create the systems, you create the outlines, and then you pay it back.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's what I'm here doing. This book peppers in my story, and honestly, there are very sad moments in my story, because I went through a lot at the time. But it's really about what you can give back to others and how you can support others through this journey. Because what you then find is that it's an unbelievable community, right? And we all understand each other. And so we need to support each other, because it never leaves us. And that's the thing that is so important for people to understand. Every single day, every single one of us that have gone through this wakes up thinking, is it back?
Right.
And that never goes away.
I'm sure every single day, right?
Every day I have a pain. The first time, if I get a pain or an ache, which I have every day, I'm like, oh, it must be back.
So how do you overcome those thoughts? Like, what do you do as a strategy? Because I would imagine that you have that thought several times a day, because we all have aches and pains throughout our day, and at things that happen. So how do you deal with that thought?
I bring humor into it.
Okay.
I have it's going to sound crazy, but I have a song that I get up to in the morning, and it's I'm Still Standing. So
great. Is that your alarm?
It's not my alarm, but it's like my go-to. And then I obviously, honestly, I talk to, I have some therapists, and I do some different types of training to kind of retrain my brain to not always go there. So it's a lot of
Yeah.
work.
It's great.
Right? The aftermath of cancer, I don't even believe that the word aftermath is true. I think that it's ongoing, right?
Yes.
And over time, it then gets, it should. I'm not there yet. But over time, people tell me that it gets a bit easier. But then you also don't want to let it go completely because you don't want to miss out on something.
Of course.
Right.
And how long has it been for you since your diagnosis?
So it's been 2 years.
Okay.
So
okay.
I actually finished, it'll be a year next month that I'll have had my last surgery.
Great.
But I'm still going through some treatment today, which I'll be on a drug called letrozole for the next 8 more years. And I'm still doing infusions called Zometa, and that's to prevent the risk of bone cancer. So I'm still doing that. So I'm still in, I would like to say that I'm in NED, so I'm in no evidence of disease, not in remission yet. And there's a difference between the two, in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah. No, absolutely. I would imagine. And it's step by step, right?
Step by step.
Like you said, you're just, step by step.
And
along the journey.
every day is a different day, right?
Yeah.
So, and everybody experiences it differently, right? So some days are great days and I get up and I'm active and I'm doing everything.
Yeah.
And other days I just need to take a rest in bed because I just do.
Yeah.
Because of the aches and pains and so forth.
Right. And I think it's really important to honor the distinction of those different days and give your body grace and listen to your body and sort of follow what the cues are that it's giving you so that you can, honor it and take care of it in the best way that you can. Because rest and restoration is a huge part of our healing. So tell us about your book, which I love the title, by the way, because I love the F word so much. Yeah. And so I can't think of a better title. Her book is called Fuck Cancer. I love it. So tell us about your book and who should read it.
So I think actually, when we talk about who should read it, obviously anybody that's going through any type of cancer. And I think it's actually not only cancer, but I really think it's anybody if you're dealing with parents that have Alzheimer's, or if you're dealing with people that have kidney disease, it's a protocol, right?
Okay.
So my story is obviously peppered in within it, kind of how it all came to be and my history and so forth. But it's really to provide people a protocol and an outline and workbooks so that they can actually take agency themselves. And that's what I want to do. I provide in the book the list of questions that I went through. I talk about the different, my objectives that were very clear and what I was going after. I talk about setting up this executive board team. I even talk about chemo, on how to make chemo fun, right?
Yeah.
And really lean into your friends. Chemo for me was a party. And it sounds so strange, but my husband came to my first one, and then I fired him. Because he does.
That's what you get to do as CEO. You get to fire.
Well, that's it. And he did what all husbands do, right? He fell asleep, and then he got up and he got a little dizzy, and then the nurses flocked to him, and I'm like,
oh
okay,
my God.
This is about me.
Like, this is, I love
it. What are you doing?
Right. Oh my God.
He was out, and then my friends came in, and it was the best time. When do you ever get 8 hours with a girlfriend?
Ever.
And so we were singing show tunes, we were dancing, we were doing we were eating tons of food, and we just made it as positive as possible. And so that's the big thing, really kind of lean into that community. And that's what my book talks about. I've had to take something that's so dark and so lonely, because it's very lonely, and how do you really try to make it less lonely and laugh. You gotta laugh. This
Absolutely.
sucks, right? But you know what? We all have shit. It just comes in different ways.
Absolutely.
Right. And that's what I believe.
on that note, I think that, I don't know if we mentioned this during the recording because we talked about it briefly before, but, you obviously got this diagnosis. Prior to this diagnosis, your sister had passed away from breast cancer.
Yeah.
But then you got this diagnosis, but you were also dealing with, because I'm bringing this up because you mentioned in your book, it talks about taking care of Alzheimer's and kidney disease and all of these other things, because you then were dealing with your parents' illnesses after you got your diagnosis. So explain a little bit about that, because I think that helps to paint the story of really, truly what you were going through during this time, not just the cancer diagnosis.
So this was probably, talk about an out-of-body experience. I try to locate my mother, and I can't locate her. She was going to the doctor in the morning, and I couldn't locate her. And I had actually been in the hospital that day because I was having a lot of heart rate issues. Needless to say, I called my brother. We don't live in the same province, and he sent somebody up to see to their condo, and my mom was lying in a pool, and my dad was lying next to her, and my mom had a stroke.
Oh my gosh.
And so, because, as you know, you can reverse a stroke within an hour, an hour and a half maybe. Yeah. Because it had been 8 hours, her stroke was irreversible, and it was pretty significant. She goes into the hospital. They try to reverse it to the nth degree, and they do a scan, and they find out she has a brain tumor. So she had breast, lung, brain. Ultimately, they operate on her, and a few days later she passes. And I was going back and forth in between chemo sessions and so forth, like getting on a plane and going to see her. And so the day that I finished chemo, when I should have been, in a sense, kind of celebrating, I was eulogizing her.
Oh, so sorry.
My dad, unfortunately, he had it went very quickly into a bit of dementia, into full-thread Alzheimer's, and he didn't recognize me. So I would go and I would put on my wig, and we would sing songs, Frank Sinatra, and he had no idea who I was. And 6 months to the day of my mom's passing, when I had just finished my Herceptin treatment, I was eulogizing my father.
Oh my gosh.
So
that is a lot in a very short period of time.
Within 6 months, I lost both my parents, and it was, and especially my mom from cancer. I mean, you can only imagine the alarm bells going off in my head, thinking, oh my God, is this going to be my fate? And it was just unbelievably hard. And then trying to deal with a father that had no idea who I was. And so this is just, it's a story, and it's peppered into my book that, a lot of stuff happens to people, and it's never great, but you always have to look for some of the positive. And the positive is that I still had a lot to live for, right? Yeah. I had my husband, I had my incredible daughter, I had this unbelievable circle of friends, and I wasn't ready to go. So I was going to get up every day and put one foot in front of the other and continue going on. And had I chose not to, had I chose to sit on my couch, I don't think anybody would have blamed me, because it was so much.
Right.
But, life throws all kinds of things at us in different ways, and you never know. And it's how you deal with it and how you come out on the other side, which is the most important thing.
Yeah. And not only how you do all of those things that you just mentioned, but then how you can take your story and share it to empower others who are going through a similar or same situation. Yeah. Because there is so much power in our stories, and so much power in sharing our stories with other people, so that people know that they're not alone, that they what they're experiencing, other people are experiencing too. And how can we learn from each other? And how can we help each other? And, yes, we have friends and family that are close, but like sometimes it's in a stranger story that you can find, your true north, or truly the next step in your journey, that can help you, to take that step. So, I am very grateful for you to being here with us today and sharing, your very deeply powerful story and everything you went through. So tell my listeners, where can they find Fuck Cancer?
They can find it on Amazon. They can find it on Barnes & Noble. They can find it on my own website, which is farlaefros.com.
Awesome.
And I would love them to, again, to read it and ignore my story because it's just a sad story, but focus in on the positive, which is really the protocol and the framework.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, sad but powerful. And here you are today, looking more beautiful than ever, sharing this story. So, it's truly wonderful. And we will be sure to link all of those places that you just mentioned in the show notes. But again, thank you so much for being here today and sharing. And for all my listeners out there, thank you guys for listening once again to this episode of Suburban Warrior Podcast. I would encourage you all to click the follow button on Suburban Warrior on Instagram, YouTube, and of course, at wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to check out suburbanwarriorpodcast.com and sign up for our weekly newsletter, which is really just all of the top points of each podcast episode. And of course, what the latest and greatest is in health and wellness for women in midlife. We'd love to get you on that list so you are sure not to miss any of this amazing information. So thanks again for listening. And we'll be back next week with another amazing Suburban Warrior here to share her story with you. So then, have a great week.